You were looking live inside the State Operations Center in Sacramento. I'm Brian May. Thanks so much for joining us. That is a transition that you are seeing inside the State Operations Center as these teams transition from the day shift to the night shift. It is a 24-hour operation inside the State Emergency Center right now, monitoring the fires that are all across California. But the worst of those, the Carr Fire in Shasta County, a fire that has so far burned over 44,000 acres, just 3% contained. Hundreds of structures were burned overnight as that fire moved rapidly into the town of Redding and continues extreme fire behavior even as of today and into tonight. So much so that earlier today, Governor Brown requested an emergency declaration for direct federal assistance to further support the communities that have been impacted by, among others, the Carr Fire in Shasta. This assistance will help, of course, shelter and water for those who have been affected. The 30,000 evacuated in the county. Also, the Agriculture Department evacuating large animals, some mass care, evacuation assistance for individuals with access and functional needs as well. Earlier this afternoon, state and local officials held a press briefing in Shasta County with the very latest on the Carr Fire. Here's that press conference now.
I'd like to introduce Ken Pemlott, Chief Director of CAL FIRE.
Thank you, Mike, and good afternoon. Obviously, difficult day here, difficult several days in Shasta County. And first off, obviously, our hearts and thoughts are all with the families of the two firefighters who lost their lives fighting this fire here last night during a very difficult firefight. There are a lot of people working the fire lines today who have either lost homes, have family members who have lost homes, or certainly have been evacuated. And just some Herculean efforts overnight between law enforcement, firefighters, and many others to pull people from harm's way and do what they could to engage on this fire. 2018, it's really off to the same difficult, challenging firefight that we've seen in 2017 and before that 2016. The last 5 or 6 years in California, we've been experiencing the effects of our long-standing drought. The rain that we had really did nothing to impact the character of the vegetation, which is critically dry. And that's what happened here. And we've added additional grass from the rains we did get, and we've got the kindling. And what we're seeing, not just here in Shasta County, but literally statewide, fires that are growing exponentially. Right now, we're averaging about 45 to 50 fires a day throughout California. And currently, we're working 3 major fires, the Cranston Fire in Riverside County, the Ferguson Fire in Mariposa County near Yosemite, and this here, the Carr Fire. But we also have a number of new emerging extended attack fires across the state, from San Diego to Mendocino County today. So we continue to be extremely busy, moving resources, coordinating. Our first priority always is the initial attack of new fires. If we can keep them small, that's our priority. And so resources are being moved throughout the day, every day in California, state, local, federal, coordinated very closely to ensure we're covering fire stations and getting resources, both ground resources and air resources, where they need to be. There are over 7,000 firefighters on the fire lines right now. That number will grow in the coming days. Our weather forecast, we don't see any significant change. Over the next 7 days, we are looking at continued hot temperatures, low humidities, and we're not seeing necessarily relief from that over, again, the next 7 to 10 days. So what that means is obviously the potential for new fire starts, also means fatigue on firefighters, and it means challenging conditions to work in. Those are all things that we're looking at. As we go forward, our priorities on all these fires are life and property protection, number one. After that, we're trying to ensure critical infrastructure is protected. As folks know, here in Shasta County, in the area where this fire is burning, critical infrastructure such as power lines, roadways, other elements that are all part of not just Shasta County, but that influence the power grid and things throughout California. We're also working very closely to ensure that evacuations and the process, the incident management team is in place, working very closely with the sheriff's office, ensuring there are trigger points and all the things in place, should things change in this fire. And this fire is a long way from being done. We're anticipating, again, weather conditions today no different than what occurred over the last 2 days. We're seeing fires occur. There were literally almost what can be described as a tornado occurred over this fire yesterday. This fire was whipped up into a whirlwind of activity, uprooting trees, moving vehicles, moving parts of roadways, very significant extreme winds that are challenging for firefighters and obviously putting both the public and firefighters at risk. So at the end of the day, bottom line, we say it time and time again, but I'm going to say it and you're going to hear it from everybody here. These are extreme conditions. This is how fires are burning in California. We need to take heed, evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. Pay very close attention to social media, websites, local television and radio broadcasts, a lot of information coming out from trusted sources here with the Sheriff's Office, CAL FIRE locally, your local television and radio and websites. Leave early. Don't wait till you see the fire. Please, when you're asked to leave, leave. Leave before you're asked to leave. We don't want to put anybody else in peril, and we want folks to be able to safely leave the area. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Director of the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, Mark Ghilarducci.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, good afternoon. Mark Ghilarducci, Director of Governor Brown's Office of Emergency Services here in California. First, let me just reiterate Chief Pemlot's comments regarding our thoughts and prayers to the families that suffered loss of loved one firefighters who heroically gave their life in the service of others, as well as our sincere concern for the families and the residents who have lost homes and the businesses that may have been lost in the community. We understand this is an extremely challenging event, and we're seeing fire conditions, as Chief Pemlot mentioned, and weather conditions like we've never seen before, making this really quite an event to stay out in front of and making sure we have enough resources to be able to address all of the needs. Let me just say early on that Governor Brown requested and received and secured a fire management assistance grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This grant really does work to assist in providing resources for these kind of events, these very complex events that potentially may result in catastrophic loss. And it's really important to note that behind the scenes, behind the team here that's working so diligently with regards to responding are hundreds of other state, federal, local, and private sector personnel working back in Sacramento at the State Operations Center and the regional centers throughout the state to support this event and the various other events in California. The Office of Emergency Services responsibility is coordinating the overall statewide response to these fires and the disasters that occur, and we're really focusing all of our resources that are necessary on this particular event. As we speak here today in this press conference, the governor is in contact with the White House and FEMA, requesting what's called direct federal assistance. It's another form of federal assistance that will provide equipment and personnel and other commodities designed for additional life safety and life-saving, life-sustaining operations, and is forwarding that to the White House now. In addition to the tremendous effort that's being done by all of the CAL FIRE, National Park Service, local public safety officials that are here working on this, we have over 125 local government fire departments from throughout the state of California, as far south as San Diego County, here supporting Shasta County and a number of OES assets that are engaged, as well as a tremendous number of other state assets, which you'll hear from in a minute, from the CHP and the Cal Guard and other state assets. Simultaneously, even as the firefight continues, we are in the process of working with Shasta County Sheriff's Department, Office of Emergency Services, to begin the collecting of critical information to begin that recovery process. We're talking about an effort that will look at the total amount of loss to try to address individual need, critical public infrastructure need, and helping to clear the debris that may have resulted from the fire. These are important aspects to assist the communities, the business, and the individuals and the government get back up on their feet and be able to begin their economic recovery. This is a one team, one fight effort. All hands are on deck. There is no resource that this incident is requesting that is not being met, and will continue to stay in that posture as we move forward. This is, let me just say that it's important to also understand that the recovery process and all of the other aspects is really a marathon, not a sprint. But we're going to continue to be with the residents of Shasta County and the local government here throughout the long run to ensure that we help Shasta County get back up on its feet. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to the Commissioner of the Highway Patrol, Commissioner Stanley, to talk about CHP's operation.
Thank you, Director. And on behalf of the men and women of the California Highway Patrol, we are happy to be here to help the citizens of Redding and the people of Shasta County. From the CHP role, we have approximately 118 uniformed personnel assigned to this fire. We had to bring in uniformed personnel from obviously here in Northern California, but we brought some in from the Bay Area. We also brought some in from the Central Valley and some from the Sacramento Valley. They've been helping out with evacuations, road control, and general patrol. They've also provided a great deal of assistance to Sheriff Pacinco and Chief Moore in the area of evacuation, and I want to thank them personally for their being able to work with them and their staff and the great job that they have done. There are a number of road closures in and around the fire. I won't list them, but as the Chief Pimlott said, if you go to the fire website, if you go to our website, the CHP website, or Caltrans website, you'll be able to get information on those closures and to let you know what's going on. Right now, I-5 is open, but you have to remember there's a lot of fire equipment and law enforcement officers moving up and down I-5, so please be aware of that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to General Beavers from the National Guard.
Thanks, Commissioner. I'm Matt Beavers from the California National Guard. Currently, we have more than 800 soldiers and airmen from the Guard either here on the incident or en route to the incident. In addition, we have 6 firefighting helicopters, and we're also flying 2 modular airborne firefighting system equipped C-130s that have been federalized. They're flying out of McClellan. In addition to that, we also have 1 MQ-9 Reaper remotely piloted aircraft that is giving the incident commander here near real-time view of the erratic and extreme fire behavior that's ongoing with this incident, and it's being able to help them make better decisions more quickly and more effectively. Last thing I want to say is really our hearts and our prayers go out to the folks that were affected by this fire. I know we have several National Guard folks that were also affected, so we appreciate everybody's the opportunity to let everybody know what's going on, and I will turn it over to Greg Stubb. There he is.
Good afternoon. Greg Bertelli, Incident Management Team 1 IC trainee. I'll give you an operational update, but as firefighters, we continually evaluate and reevaluate the situation of the fire. We base that on the fuel, the weather, and the topography. Any one of those factors will make containing a fire extremely difficult. The car fire, at times, experience all 3 combined. Each branch, each portion of that fire has at least one of those elements. I'll walk over to the map. In Branch 1, Division Yankee, the fire is on the southwest side of Whiskeytown Lake, making a push towards the southwest. As we come up into Branch 2, Division Mike is backing downhill, but it's backing down the hill very aggressively, very actively. The other portions of Division Branch 2 are holding well, but we still have certain areas that are active. Coming into Branch 3, a lot of steep, rugged terrain, again, making difficult access, and the fire is moving to the northeast. Coming down along branch 3 into branch 4 is the significant event that happened yesterday afternoon with that strong west wind channeling through drainages and pushing into the city of Reading. The days leading up to that, we'd created zones and had plans in effect for advisory and mandatory evacuations. Those began to go into effect days ago, and we still have zones in place to continue those evacuations. As we speak right now, what we call WUI tactics, which are wild urban land interface tactics, are being employed. Firefighters are out there actively rescuing, evacuating, engaging, and defending homes as we speak. The main focus goes in those populated areas. As Chief Pimlott pointed out, life safety is our #1 priority. And these are the tactics that we utilize to employ that. And we continue on. This fire is moving at times 3 to 4 different directions. We're actively engaged. As we get resources, they actively go in there and go to work. With that, I'll hand it over to Incident Commander, Chief Gavea.
Good evening. Today, we are fighting the fire as we mourn the loss of 2 members of our firefighting community. This is a tough, complex firefight. However, our crews are fully engaged with the priorities first to protect the citizens of Shasta County, our cooperators, and our fellow firefighters. This fire not only includes wildland, but as you've heard, many residents, communities, neighborhoods, and significant infrastructures and assets at risk. This fire is being fought with a cooperative effort under unified command with the National Park Service and the City of Reading Fire Department. In addition to that, we're working closely with the Shasta County Sheriff's Office with evacuations and repopulation plans for the future. With that, I'd like to introduce my unified partner, Rick Young.
Good evening. I just want to start out by saying we recognize the impact this incident has had and continues to have on this community, and we are fully committed to containing it as quickly as possible. I also want to state that we understand the stress and inconvenience that are associated with the evacuations, and we will do everything we can to open those up as quickly as is safe to do so. I'd really like to thank all the local, state, federal, and private cooperators for their assistance. The interagency cooperation and communication has been outstanding. I'd like to introduce Sheriff Tom Basenko.
Thank you very much. Tom Basenko, Shasta County Sheriff and Director of Emergency Services for Region 3, which includes Shasta County. Our office is working closely with the Unified Command and the fire agencies. Our primary mission is the evacuation of the residents of the affected areas and protection of property after that's evacuated. We're using to evacuate a number of technological assets, which includes Code Red, a dialogic communicator, which is reverse 911, crawlers across the TV, the social media, emergency alert system, and then the iPause system for the integrated public alert warning system. Yesterday, with very fast-moving fire, sometimes it was difficult to keep up with the evacuation orders for those communities. And when we work with closely with fire for those evacuation orders, we do not take those orders lightly. They're very serious, and when we ask people to evacuate, it's imperative that they comply. Not only are they placing themselves and their families in danger, they're endangering our firefighting partners, because sometimes if they wait too long, then it has to turn into a rescue for those individuals, and those firefighters are putting their lives at risk to try and go in and do a rescue. I'm thankful for the governor. We declared a local emergency, and then the governor declared an emergency for Shasta County as well. We also asked the California National Guard to come in and assist law enforcement, and they are a force multiplier for us as well to assist us in the roadblocks and to keep the community from coming back in or causing problems for the firefighters when we get the large apparatus with other people coming back in their vehicles. They will be continuing to assist us in the future days. You may see them out and about, and they will also assist us with repopulation when that time comes. Regarding repopulation, that cannot occur A lot of times when the smoke clears a little bit or there's a little bit of a break and you may not see the flames, it takes a number of days to clear those areas for safety reasons. We work closely with our fire partners and the utilities for their infrastructure to ensure that power lines are cleared out of the way, poles are safe and not falling over, or snags from the burning trees don't fall and cause further injury or death. Then when we have repopulation, it is going to be conducted in staging in a way that has an orderly fashion to it to get back in. We know that people are concerned about their homes and they want to see if their homes have survived or they have losses. We have share that concern as well. Currently, upwards of 38,000 people within Shasta County and this burn area have been displaced. We have a number of evacuation centers in place, and you can obtain that information from the law enforcement agencies or CAL FIRE. We have given literally thousands upon thousands of notices for evacuation, which includes going door to door. Even law enforcement, we had radio infrastructure that was impacted on South Fork Mountain, in which the fire burned over the top. Thank you to our fire coordinators. They were up on top of that mountain trying to protect it, but when it got to a point, they had to evacuate off the mountain as well. Our radio infrastructure has been slightly impacted, but is still working well with us. I'd like to share my sympathies to our fire coordinators for the loss of their personnel, and my sympathy goes out to our community members that have experienced loss with their homes and properties as well. I'd like to at this time turn it over to Reading Police Chief Roger Moore.
Thank you, Sheriff. I too would like to thank everyone here today, our law enforcement officers, to our citizens, to our volunteers, everybody here today. The citizens of Reading, thank you for being here. This fire is scary to us. This is something we haven't seen before in the city. It's changing directions radically. And what I would like to cover is, if you hear an evacuation order on your phone, home phone or cell phone, or if you see an officer on his PA telling you to get out of there, please get out of there. When this fire made a run early this morning, we saw massive gridlock. We can't have that. So please leave early. Please have your items ready to go if you're in the evacuation zone. With that also, we are going to be opening up a missing persons hotline for local folks here in Shasta County, and that's area code 530-225-4277. If you have a loved one that's missing, please call us and we will determine if it is county related or city related and send out an investigator. Thank you very much.